You're listening to Entrepreneur's Enigma, a podcast about the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. Every week, your host Seth Goldstein interviews entrepreneurs from all walks of life about their entrepreneurial journeys. From store owners to Fortune 500 CEOs, we all have stories to tell. So sit back and join us for the next 20 or so minutes while we explore the entrepreneurial world.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. You know who I am. I'm Seth. I'm your host. Today I have a buddy of mine, Connelly. She is a local of the Philadelphia area. She is an entrepreneur for literally her whole entire adult life. Like usually you see entrepreneurs that have like work for the man, or the woman or the person, that phrase. But literally she started her company when she was in high school and has seen it through. I mean, like not many entrepreneurs can say that they started this before they went to college. I mean, and they kept with it. Like usually it's like mowing lawns or something like that. But no, this was a high-tech company when she and her brother, I think you said, started the company, which is even brave enough as putting up with your big brother.
Both big brothers.
Because there's both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild.
All three of
Catherine is an entrepreneur, engaging speaker, and author of Design for Success: Lessons from 20 years as a female tech entrepreneur. You can read it behind me. It's easier to just read the behind me. Pick up the book. It's awesome. She is the co-founder of the Me Group, a NASDAQ-listed social dating and live streaming company connecting millions of active users globally. The Me Group was acquired in 2020 for $500 million. This is the company that she started in high school. That's insane. Let's let that sit there for a second. That's incredible. Catherine's nearly 2 decades of entrepreneurial experience includes co-founding myYearbook, which is now the Me Group. She started that at 15, people. So if you're looking at your kids now, you're like, they can't do stuff like this. No, they can. They'll surprise you, that kind of thing. And you've led brand strategy and marketing for the Me Group through a series of mergers, acquisitions, and rebrands. You're a grad of the Georgetown University, and then the Wharton School over at University of Pennsylvania. You were named Ernst Young Entrepreneur of the Year award winner for the Philadelphia region. That's a lot of words in there. And you've appeared on a bunch of different media outlets: CNBC, Wall Street Journal, MTV, ABC, Fox News, CosmoGIRL. Of course, why not, right? You gotta get that one.
I'm very proud of the CosmoGIRL one. It's actually very important in our history. So I have included that, even though it does not exist anymore. But I was always very proud of the CosmoGIRL. It doesn't exist anymore?
You don't have the clip anymore?
Oh, no. I mean, the CosmoGIRL is not a magazine anymore.
Oh, that's still kind of cool, though. BusinessWeek, the San Francisco Chronicle, CBS, and more, I'm sure. You read a newsletter, Growing Up Startup, which literally she grew up startup. I mean, that's like as literal as you can freaking get. And so, welcome, Catherine. How's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, your book is fantastic. I mean,
thank you.
Literally, I still can't get over. I mean, I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always had side gigs and stuff like that. But like, you've had a gig that you started at 15 that you only exited recently. I mean, it's like, within 4 years,
Mm-hmm. But
still, I mean, you started this at 15, you exited when it was bought for $500 million. That's a little impressive. And it was housed in my Yearbook / the Me Group was down the street from me in New Hope, Pennsylvania, which is like, where the hell's New Hope in the scheme of things? She exited at $500 million. With a startup that was in a small river town off the Delaware. Not Silicon Valley, folks. Let's just keep that in mind. It's not or Philadelphia or New York. No, New Hope, a quaint little, cute, quirky little town in Bucks County. It's like, see, it can be done anywhere, which is kind of the key. So then, obviously, you had a book in you after that. I mean, if you're doing this since 15, you had a book. So what inspired? Since I can't say like have you ever worked with the man? I mean, you worked for your brother, but like you worked with your brother. But I mean, like, you can't get that kind of line of questioning when you've been doing it since 15. But
well, I always heard from my mom not to not work for someone. So that was my I think that was probably the goal growing up. My mom is an electrical engineer, and she was, you know, she always had good relationships with her boss. So she was like, you know, I think definitely told my brothers and I, like, do your own thing, and we really took that to heart.
Kinda. A little bit.
Well, because Jeff is older than me. He's about 11 years older than me, and when he started his first company when he was in school, so he was in Harvard, and so, you know, dorm room startup. Dorm room startup.
You got Harvard, you got Georgetown, you got Wharton. You know, it's like smart kids. And your mom's an electrical engineer, so clearly it rubbed off.
Yeah, my dad's an electrical engineer too.
Oh, geez. So your parents are electrical engineers, so clearly there's something going on in the bloodstream there. So.
Yeah, and when my brother started his company, so Dave and I were you know, young, so we were like 10, 11 years old when he was starting his first company. And so I think kind of growing up, we always knew that entrepreneurship was an option. Whereas I think, you know, having that initial exposure to entrepreneurship, I think was, you know, key to be, so that when we were, you know, when I was the ripe age of 15, I was like, oh, I have an idea for something. I can actually start that because I've seen it done before. And so I felt like, you know, when Dave and I were starting, I was like, okay, well, we're new in our town. The idea was just to make new friends in our high school. Like, the initial idea behind my yearbook was just meeting new people, build a website for that. And, you know, there was no alternative if it didn't go well. I was like, okay, we'll get like a normal job. We'll bag groceries. We'll do, you know, normal kid stuff.
You go back to playing sports and going on dates and like all that crap. That, you know, normal. Which, I mean, nowadays, look at these kids nowadays. It's like they're doing stuff like what you do now.
They're all hustling.
It's not when we were kids. You were abnormality when we were kids. You're younger than me, but like, you know, our generation, the millennial generation, it was more like go to high school, have fun, learn, go to college, get a job. You just had kind of, did you even have a high school like life, or was it all kind of like head down on at that point my yearbook?
So I did luckily have, I didn't have, so I was varsity gymnastics, so that was like my sport. You know, everyone has their sports. And I did that all 4 years. To be clear, to get varsity gymnastics, you just had to be capable of competing on all 4 events. I am not a good gymnast. I love it, just a level there. So I wasn't like investing a lot of time into that. I'm sorry?
It's a small Jersey town. You're from Jersey, so it's a small Jersey town. Yeah. If anyone thinks about Jersey, their school districts are literally, there's a town, and the town has a school district. Like, it's the most bizarre thing.
That's not weird to me. That's not weird to me.
It's
but yeah,
it was Montgomery High School. It's weird when, like, you know, because, I mean, New Hope had Soulbury, which was like a small little town.
Right, but Doylestown just has Central Bucks West. Isn't that only Doylestown?
No, we have Central Bucks West, South, and East.
Okay.
We're like the 4th biggest district in the state.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know
that. We cover like 5 or 6 towns.
Oh, okay.
For all the elementaries, you know, it's a huge district. That's what we're used to. Not this weird Jersey stuff.
Well, Montgomery Township. So my high school, which is actually the town I'm living in now too. But my high school, I moved back. Yeah. But my high school was we had about 380 people or so in my graduating class, and so.
Wow.
And so, you know, that I don't know how that compares to the other schools, but when there's
like 1,000, 1,200 in each high school's graduating class.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
that's
huge.
Huge. Yeah, I mean, we were pretty proud in our high school when we got about 400 people to sign up in the first week for the website.
Wow.
That would, I know, because that was like a quarter of the class or a quarter of the school.
That's a good test bed, though. I mean, like, because you don't have to worry about getting everybody. Like, you get the school to sign up. It's like, it's really cool.
It was fantastic for that, yeah. And so, you know, you asked if I had like a life in high school, and I only did really because of my yearbook, because, you know, I was very shy when we got started. I mean, the whole idea for the company was because Dave and I were having trouble making friends. More so me than Dave. Dave was always cool. But you know, I was, you know, shyer, definitely, and I'm a very proud nerd. But, you know, that's not. You know, that's not necessarily attracting people to you.
Now being a nerd is cool.
Now it's
cool. When you were
cool.
kids, it was like you get your head dunked in the toilet.
Luckily never happened to me. But yeah,
That's
I was certainly, more on the nerdy side, but very proud of that. And still am. And when we got the idea for the company, so we're, the initial work, of course, you're doing up hundreds of pages specification sheets, sending them to our developers because we don't know how to code. We outsourced a team that was in Mumbai. So we're working with them to get the initial site built. We build that. We wore fun T-shirts to school every day to get people to join. And, this is coming from, high school where like what you wear really matters. Like people pay attention. And so when you're wearing a shirt that says my yearbook on the front and like answering the questions that matter most, who are your friends and are they hot? And silly things like that. It got people, and we gave some to friends, it got people noticing it. And then all of a sudden, Dave and I, who were, Dave was relatively popular. I wasn't. All of a sudden now people are coming up to us, around the track in the high school cafeteria, just like giving us their ideas for the site, being like, hey, I joined, here's what I think you should build. So it really became kind of like this test bed of like the perfect place to beta test, because it was created, for teens by teens at the time.
Yeah, smaller than Harvard and Facebook, because there's definitely a parallel to how Facebook started at Harvard.
Yeah.
But you had 400, it's easier to iterate than having a big school like Harvard to iterate on. And you're less evil, much less evil than
Thank you.
Exactly.
But we did watch. So Facebook was only in a few universities at the time we launched, and it was something that we were aware of because Jeff had read about Harvard in a alumni magazine or something, and so we were aware of that. We were seeing how they grew school to school, and actually that was how we were like, okay, we'll go to school too, and that just really didn't work for the high school network. So we got our school fine, but then. Well, one, we didn't know as many people in other schools. Like we had like our summer camp friends and things like that. But we couldn't really spark it in the same way. But what we ended up seeing was that people were, we had like these like smatterings in other schools, but their retention was basically the same as our school. And so it told us that, the actual network didn't really seem to matter as much as long as they had enough people nearby to talk to. And so then that became like, okay, let's just open it up everywhere and see what we can do. We had found we were always scrappy. So we actually, what we did was we used user-generated quizzes. Like, these are like...
you were BuzzFeed before BuzzFeed was a thing.
Exactly. Like BuzzFeed quizzes. So like, what Friends character are you? What Seinfeld character are you? Pop culture at the time.
Yeah.
And... people would want to see their quiz result, and then they'd share their quiz result on their AIM profiles, their MySpace profiles, kind of the big things at the time. And we would have a registration flow, and they'd end up on my yearbook, and we built some social features around your quiz results and things like that. So there was an added value there. But that's how we ended up getting, 1 million people to join within the first 9 months, because we...
Oh, wow. And these are 15-year-olds doing this. I mean, your brother's older brother's older, but still, this is a bunch of 15-year-olds, and they have 1 million people. That's incredible. That's amazing.
It was, it's kind of surreal kind of thinking back, especially, when I was first, pitching venture capitalists and things like that, you're asking people we did our Series A was for 4.1 million. At the time we were raising it, I didn't even have my driver's license yet. So it's like, please give me a few $1 million. I also don't have a car yet, which because when we had to get into the building and in security, I had to show a student ID because I didn't have a license.
That's awesome. Oh my God, that's incredible. That's fun.
Yeah, but we were heads down working on it. So even though, there were aspects of my, high school and college career that, would have been different. Like I remember high school, I really wanted to join Science Olympiad, but schedule wise, that would never work.
How was your time for that, running a business?
Exactly. I couldn't. So I was like, I can't join that. But I made sure to, block out the things that really mattered to me. So when it was came to prom or graduation festivities at Georgetown, I talk about this a little bit in the book, and how, I really had to learn how to set boundaries and protect the aspects of my identity that I wanted protected, that I wanted, to keep separate. Because I think, as entrepreneurs, you live and breathe what you're doing, especially when you're working with your brothers. It's at every family event. It's always there.
You can't escape it. Yeah.
Right. But sometimes you still want to, enjoy the things that are just, the normal kid stuff, going to the senior picnic, going to, enjoying those aspects of it. Though it certainly helped me get into Georgetown. I remember my guidance counselor said there's no way I would get in, which I still don't really understand. I had good grades, so I don't really understand why she said there was no way I'd get in. But I do think that
it's a nice resume builder.
Exactly.
A million person social network in high school at 15. That's good for good for your resume.
I had a letter of recommendation from one of our VCs, so that was helpful.
We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show. It helps you get into Georgetown a little bit. It helps you get into MBA at Wharton. Because colleges are more, I think now especially.
It's so hard now.
You have to have extracurricular, geez, that's a hard word. You have to have side hustles going on in high school. Like my kid's going in the middle school next year, and they're already saying, all right, well, now you got to get into clubs. You get the school is saying, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like, the kid's in 7th grade.
It's a little scary. It's stressful. Yeah. My niece just got into college. She's a senior somehow already. Yeah, and it's just seeing what her class is like, kind of like going through like the stress of it. Because I remember it was stressful when I was applying, but in many ways, by making applying to schools easier, it made it like that much more stressful. Because now you're not applying. Like I think when I was applying to schools, there were a handful of kids. I remember they applied to like 20 schools, and it was like, oh my God. But I think that's the norm now. Like you're just applying and
my niece, who's a freshman at Rowan, I mean, she was in robotics, this, robotics, that. I mean, I'm looking at this, and she got a full ride from Exelon, who's paying for everything, because it's paying her a crap ton of money in the summer to work for them. I'm seeing this, I'm like, oh my God, this is no, and there's pressure on the poor parents. I'm looking at this, I'm looking at my kid who is, in 6th grade playing Roblox every moment he breathes, and I'm like, all right, dude, we gotta get you to do some extracurriculars, that are not just playing on the computer. But he's in 6th, he's 12 years old, and I'm like, ah. But then you look at people like Catherine here, she got an idea and ran with it, and I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years, and I've always had this bent towards being an entrepreneur. And so I love that your parents are like encouraging you to be an entrepreneur and saying like, you can work for the person, you can work for the big company, but we're doing that. It's not all it's cracked up to be. And I'm sure on the entrepreneurial side, I can't talk today. You had your ups and downs. I mean, you've done that for what? You did Meet Group for like 25, 30 years, right?
18 years. Yeah. So I was there, 2005, and then we exited in 2020, but I still stayed on for an additional 3 years. So I didn't leave until 2023.
They want you usually when they buy you is like keep some of the old brass around to kind of keep the company culture good and stuff like that. So. Right.
Yeah. And I think that, and like you said, like there was, we were a public company for a while there, for about 9 years.
We forgot about that. Not only did she start this at 15, grew it to a $500 million exit. At some point along the way, she went public with the company. And this is something that she started when she was 15. Let's just keep that in mind. Like this is like, I mean, it can be done. That's the point. I'm not saying that this is out of the ordinary. I mean, right now it's not really out of the ordinary anymore. Kids are starting stuff like at like 6, and you're like, what the heck? But everything grows faster now than it did when we were kids.
It's accelerating, and I think and this is something, I talk about a lot. Like where I think qualifications are overrated because starting out, I knew nothing other than like the existing tech at the time. Like I had like a Zanga profile, which is like type of online blog. Like it wasn't like I wasn't like some computer person or like had some type of business savvy. I just had an interest. I chased my curiosity, and I had an idea, and we Googled everything. Like we found Google to be the age equalizer, and now AI can be that. Like if you don't know how to, obviously we outsourced to Mumbai, but like now you can build things. You can actually start building just through prompt-driven engineering. And there's so many more options, I think, available to really like say, okay, I have an idea. There's now so many more resources to scope that out. And that's scary too, because there's a lot of distracting things too. Yeah. But, I don't ever think that there's like a situation where someone is like, oh, you're unqualified to do it. It's like, okay, then get qualified. Immerse yourself in it. There's so much information out there.
Yeah. You can do it more than ever now. is figure stuff out, and like now college is like not the biggest deal in the world anymore. People are saying, I don't need to go to college, I can just start something, and then they go back to college because they want to have the experience of having college. Like, that's my thing with my kid. My kid's like, he wants to be a game developer. I'm like, he's coding Roblox, for crying out loud. He's not Googling, he's YouTubing, which is Google, but it's the second biggest search engine out there. He's YouTubing how to do certain things, learning how to code. And I'm a designer. I'm slightly an HTML, CSS designer kind of thing. I know a little HTML, a little JavaScript to be dangerous. This kid is teaching himself Python.
Right.
Because he wants to.
It's amazing. Because he can,
and
he can, and it's right there for him.
His brain is still moldable, though. See, I tried to learn Python. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, buddy, if you learn Python, I will hire you and pay you to do Python for me. He's like, really? He got excited about that for like 5 minutes, and then was like, he went back to doing his own thing. Because Dad's company, it's like whatever. So, all right. So, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur since you've been an entrepreneur since 15? My questions I ask in every episode is kind of like, not really applicable, but they kind of are. What's the best thing about being an entrepreneur? I mean, since I guess you did stay on after the merger and the acquisition.
Yeah.
So you did kind of work for the man a little bit.
Yeah, and when we were a public company, it's very different. There was definitely,
That's
I think,
true,
specific phases of the company. So like 2011 when we went public in a SPAC-like deal. And so that, and that's different because now you're answering to shareholders. You're not
the only boss anymore. Yeah,
exactly. There's bigger, and we had during that time we sometimes were dealing with activists or dealing with short sellers. Like there's some very high stress situations from being a public company. When we had that
yeah.
Sometimes were distractions from what you were working on, but at the same time, sometimes some aspects of being public were good because it's like, okay, now the numbers you're reporting, like you can make like the apples to apples comparisons. You're much closer to the financial markets for some strategic things you want to do. But it's a very different thing. And when we started acquiring other companies, so we started our at myYearbook, which became Meet Me, which is still around. And then we acquired some other large companies like Scout. We spent about $55 million on that. Tagged was 60 million. And then
these numbers are insane technology. And it's like not a lot of money when you think how you spend $50 million on a company. When people
these were the small things, yeah.
These are just small. Let's keep that in mind. These are small deals. When you think about it, like Instagram was bought for $1 billion, and that was even now small now because AI companies are being bought for bigger things. It's like, but $50 million is not a drop in the bucket.
No, it's actually funny when you like, and I've talked about this before. It's like when so thinking about how like you think about the business, like it's just like you're either a unicorn, $1 billion company, or you're worth nothing. Like that's like there's like this binary, but that's not true. There's a range of values. Like we were very happy with our exits. Like and I think that there's but there's still like this side of you. It's like, oh well, if you're not quite the household brand, you're there's some negative self-talk that you kind of have to just plow through and be like, no, you can build something amazing, and you know what, you don't need that $500 million exit. We acquired Growler, and that was I think that was about $12 million or so, which is still obviously very good, but that was even more amazing because that was a small team. That was, I think there was like 2 people.
That means the founder can literally put his kid through college without having to think about it. If you think like you sold your company for $12 million. College is around like $1 million now, unfortunately, to get into like a really good school, and that puts your kid through college. That pays for your house, and then it lets you buy that boat or something that you want to go cruising around the Atlantic in. Like, it's freeing. So to get back to the question, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur in your mind? Being an entrepreneur your whole life.
So I think the best thing was honestly just being able to work on what I've wanted to work on. Having that freedom, being like, okay, well, this is what I'm curious and this is what I can work on. And not have, I guess like, building something that also affected the lives of millions of people. It's like, and even on like the hardest days, because there were very hard days, like, sometimes there were hard days. You would get a testimonial from a user. It's like they met their significant other, or they're pregnant with someone they met from the app, or they met their roommate, and it's like, oh, today is now a good day. Like it
turns it around very fast.
Yeah, because it's when you're building something that can touch so many people, and in such a very deeply personal way to them. Because I think that anytime you're working on a product, it starts to be like, okay, you're thinking of DAU, you're thinking like the big number, but then when you kind of refocus on those individual stories of who your users are, that's when you can really build something special for them, because that's who you're affecting on the individual basis, on the individual day. So I think that what I loved most about being an entrepreneur was really knowing I had that effect on people. And so even now with my work now, I do a lot of advising and mentorship for entrepreneurs. I actually do free office hours every month. Please join them. And I think one of what I like doing that is the same thing I liked building at the company. Like I love like kind of the individual interactions that you can have with people, and just meeting all sorts of people and seeing if there's opportunities to collaborate, to work together, to help each other. Because I think that the journey as an entrepreneur can be lonely if you let it be. But if you try to build branches with others, it's incredibly fulfilling, and just in such an incredible ecosystem to be a part of.
All right, so on the flip side, what keeps you up at night? I mean, especially now that you're kind of doing your own thing, you've exited, you're a mom, which is the biggest entrepreneurial journey of being a parent. There's no guidebook to that. Like there literally is not. And it's like I look at my 12-year-old, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. He's 12. I've had 12 years to figure this thing out. I can't figure this kid out still. So, but I mean, like, what keeps you up at night now? I mean, you're still kind of entrepreneurial, doing your own thing though. What keeps you up at night? Besides the kid.
Yeah, actually, literally last night it was my daughter, but excuse me. I feel like what I generally actually sleep very well, but and I think the reason for that is because I find like my days fulfilling, and that's fantastic. But I guess what is most on my mind is like, am I building enough? I think there's always like that next want to be like, oh, okay, let me get that next milepost. Let me get to that next the next goal, and I have to remind myself, oh, slow down. Slow down. You just released a book, like. Yeah, just enjoy that for a bit before doing the next thing, because I think
it's addictive though. Yeah, the dopamine rush of building something, writing something, doing all that. It's like now you have this new project. You have the book, you have the office hours. It's like, okay, but you're like, I want to do something now. What do I want to do? And you're like, well, you just chill,
right?
Chill.
And I think too, a lot of it is like you have to remind yourself, and this is like something that I talk with like author friends, because we have all bonded through the experience of writing books, and
it's like
a lot of things. It's like a lot of things that you want to do. You're like, okay, I need to do that right now, and it's like, no, but it takes like a year of work. So like you need to get started on it now, but it doesn't happen right away. And it's that reminder. It's like, it's not just 1 month from now you're going to be in it. Like it's showing up every day, making small steps, doing, setting up the processes so that you can actually show up every day. And I think that's kind of like the hard part, because like, you don't get that.
It's not as fun. It's not as fun.
Yeah, you don't get like that the dopamine rush from just like, you're like, oh, let me write another LinkedIn post.
That's so true.
But it all becomes like important in how you show up for whatever you're building. Because you have through my journey, I had like these big moments. It's like, okay, we had the $100 million deal to go public. We had the $500 million acquisition. We acquired other apps. Like, there's these big moments that happen, but they're few and far in between. The typical day is just
every day. You can't do them.
It's a slog. Yeah, no, it's a slog. And what makes the slog worth it is the people you're connecting with, whether it be your users or whether it be your team. And I loved the team that I was building with. That was, that's why you keep doing it that's why, I was at the company for 18 years. It's because I loved the people I worked with.
That's the case. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
A smile. And I say that
good. It's true. It's
because
true.
I think, and I think this is something that I talk about in the book too. So much of your luck comes from the connections that you make. And if But people have this bad tendency of going into a situation and assuming people aren't going to like them as much as they actually do. And so as a result, you're a little bit more guarded. You're a little bit more, you're less warm. And as a result, then they actually, it's acceptance prophecy, basically. Like, you thought they weren't going to like you, so you were weird, and now they actually don't. Yeah. And so I think, bring positivity, bring a smile into your new connections. Look for ways that you can help others. And that's kind of like the mindset that you should kind of be entering any new conversation with, because you don't know if this person, if this is someone that you can really help in some major way. That could happen. And that's how, those initial relationships build that, can turn into something, amazing over time.
I love it. I love it. No one's ever actually said a smile. So you're the first one. So I like that. I get weird ones on that question. Like, I get some woo-woo ones that are out. I get a lot, like my phone, and I'm like, all right, let's get a little deeper than that. But like,
I wish I could not bring my phone places. It's a problem. I'm like,
I know, exactly. What's the thing that you don't want to carry with you all the time? Your phone.
My phone.
Exactly. So Catherine, this has been so much fun. We'll have links to how people can get your office hours. Also, you can get a free virtual copy of her book.
Yeah.
There'll be a link in the show notes. So thank you for that. You can also check it out on Amazon. Write a review on Amazon, please, 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 please. Connect with Catherine on LinkedIn as well. She's prolific on there ever since we started chatting again. We've known each other for a while, but
we met at Stacks, right?
We met at Stacks, which was a co-working space in Doylestown.
But I feel like I knew you before that.
In like 2016. I think we've known of each other, but then we officially met at Stacks. But then we reconnected over LinkedIn, and I'm like, now you're in my feed. LinkedIn's like, you like Catherine, you like her content. I'm gonna show you Catherine all the time. I'm like, all right.
You're like, I see Catherine too much.
No, it's plenty. It's perfect. LinkedIn's weird with the algorithm, because every once in a while you'll say like, I did this. I'll be like, that's awesome. I hope you have a great day. And it was like 5 weeks ago. I'm like, why did you do that? This stupid algorithm. Always have to check the timestamp. But anyhow, Catherine, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see everyone next week.
That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please consider giving us a review in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps us reach new listeners. If you like Entrepreneur's Enigma, consider the other shows on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net.